What's the worst thing you may have done as a teen?
Trespassing, maybe a little bit of vandalism.
I went to steal hair clipper from H&M. I might have also influenced some people to do that too, I guess.
This is Linda from Echoes of Incarceration, and you're watching a highly scientific study examining just how idiotic the average person was when they were young.
We tipped over a porta potty once.
I drank too much a bunch of times, and I even remember, driving probably when I shouldn't have.
The results of our study, people were pretty idiotic.
We one time forked a lawn of this high school.
In case you were wondering, this is forking a lawn. We also found that people's thinking did change.
Is your thinking the same today as it was when you were a teen?
Absolutely not. They call it growing up for a reason.
No, of course not, because you act so much more out of an impulse or driven by your emotion.
I would never drink and drive now. I think at that time in your life, that's I don't want to say expected, but as a youth, you often do that. Yeah.
So we all know we're idiots when we're younger, and we know we generally grow up at some point. But my crew and I were exploring a more difficult question that has important implications to criminal justice. When exactly does that change happen? When do we naturally age out of being such idiots? And at what age are we fully responsible for our actions? Here in New York, that answer used to be clear: 16. 16-year-olds went to adult courts, got adult sentences, and their convictions stayed on their record for life. For years, advocates fought to change this law, and when they made the case, they often brought up science and adolescent development. In 2017, New York did more or less raise the age to 18. But the funny thing is that the science that the bill is based on doesn't say anything about the age 18.
So why are we stopping at 18? Why isn't an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old getting the kinds of treatment that we're giving to 16 and 17-year-olds, because there's really no difference.
This is Vincent Schiraldi. He ran Washington, D.C.'s juvenile justice system, as well as New York City's Department of Probation, and now co-directs Columbia University's Justice Lab.
So young people in this age range are more volatile in emotionally charged settings, less future-oriented, greater risk takers, and more peer influenced. I got a 24-year-old son. He can't rent a car. That's not because Hertz doesn't want his money. Hertz wants his money. He's a bad bet because he's young, and when he's around other folks, more likely to engage in risky behavior.
So when does the brain age out of risky behavior? As it turns out, the rental car companies are pretty on point. We talked to Nellie Aaliyah Klein, a neuroscientist at the Friedman Brain Institute.
What is really fine-tuning in the brain towards that time from 16 to about 25 is you emerging as an adult. And you emerging as an adult has a lot to do with the decision making. You look like an adult. You're an adolescent, but you look like an adult. But your brain is very different.
She has a point there. I'm 19, and when I'm not busy being a journalist, I still do stuff like this. It's nice to know that I have some scientific research backing me up here.
The prefrontal cortex is more developed. It's a bit like we treat children in the criminal justice system. We acknowledge the fact that whatever they did, it doesn't mean that they'll continue doing it.
In other words, just as we can predict that the guy we talked to would eventually stop tipping over porta potties, science can predict that a 20-year-old who commits a crime is just as likely to age out of that behavior within 5 years. In this series, we're exploring what it would mean if our criminal justice system were to really listen to the science and embrace this new category of emerging adults. And it might not make you feel better on your next trip to the porta potty, but it might just lead to a better justice system. For Echoes of Incarceration, this is Linda Ricard.